Our next presenters are from Second Story, which is a network of experiential design studios that build stories you can step inside of. Please make welcome Matt Lewis and Pavani Yalla. Y'all.
Hello, hello. It's good to be here at FutureX Live. It's our first one, so thanks to John and the team at Moxie that put this event on. It's really cool to be here. And let's see, oh my gosh, amazing. They got our non-common font.
It's not really actually working because, anyway, I'm the creative, clearly. So our fonts might be a little messed up, but it's okay.
Yeah. So I'm Matt Lewis. I lead technology for Second Story here in Atlanta.
And I'm Pavani Yalla, creative director in our Atlanta studio.
And Second Story is a team within Publicis Sapient, so kind of like a cousin to Moxie. And we're an experience design studio. And the kind of work we do for our clients is create interactive and reactive experiences in the built environment to help them tell stories. And we work across a lot of industries like museums, universities, cultural institutions, and even getting into the retail space and brand houses and doing our own public art. The one thing that we have in common across all of these industries is that we combine digital and physical things to create magical experiences. We use connected things. And the phrase combinatorial innovation comes to mind when we think about the physical environment. We think about properties of it we can sense and that we can influence, inputs and outputs, and we do that through combining arrays of sensors, display technology, analog components, mechanical controls, and physical materials and structures to create these experiences. And the number of devices we have at our disposal is growing in number all the time. We're having tons of different options to connect and pass data back and forth, and they're becoming more economical. When you think about all the connected devices in the world today, there's about 11 billion IoT devices, or Internet of Things. That's not just phone and computer and TV, but smart home things, traffic control, weather instrumentation, manufacturing, and supply chain, all have devices. In just 6 years, around 2025, it's estimated that we're going to have over 75 billion devices in the world. And that leads me kind of to the title of our talk. And when we say this word, Physidigital, it could be phygital, it could be whatever you want to call it, but what that means is the future we're heading towards is not a separation of digital and physical, but rather than becoming one thing.
So Matt just talked about a bunch of different devices, and there are a lot of different ways that Physidigital experiences can manifest themselves. But in reality, right now, most corporations, brands, and many of our clients are coming to us with one definition of what phygital means, and that is screens within the environment. And through doing this work for many years now, we've coined a term that we call screen blindness. It's a phenomena that we are observing increasingly, and we coined it based on what we've observed. If you're in advertising, you know what banner blindness is. It's basically this phenomena of people completely tuning out ads and not even looking at banner ads anymore. And this is just a snapshot of an eye tracking study. And this is pretty consistent. In fact, we're no longer just tuning banner ads out. We're actually actively trying to block them. I just downloaded this plugin a few days ago, and I love it. It's a plugin that turns all your banner ads into art. So you don't have to look at them anymore. And this is the kind of thing that actually people are increasingly, there's an exponential growth in the number of ad blockers that people are installing. So if you just look at that as a metric, we don't want to be interrupted. I mean, if you're in advertising, and we are as well, that's, tough news, right? So we talked about banner blindness, but what screen blindness is and why that's an analogy is because we think that this is happening in the physical environment already. We notice things that we put into the world that people just completely tune out. Or if they happen to see it, their brain is actively telling them to tune it out because they think it's an ad. And even when the content is not an ad, even if it's something that's helpful or inspiring, something that you actually need, people are tuning them out. So, we are challenged by this in the work that we do because we create digital experience or Physidigital, whichever word you want to use. And we try to account for it in a couple different ways. One of them has everything to do with form and materiality. So we do our best to create experiences that seamlessly combine physical and digital experiences in a way that is not just slapping a screen into the environment. So whether that's involving tangible objects, natural materials that digital is shining through. And I think we do this, we've all ad nauseum heard this term, surprise and delight. I think we do it because of that, because people are really, don't expect natural materials to come to life. And when you see something unexpected be enabled by technology, you are delighted by it. But I think that there's probably a deeper underlying, maybe even more complex reason that we are delighted by these experiences and why we do it. Kind of borrowing from some theories that are out there. Biophilia is one that I love to follow. This notion that we as a species are wired to want to experience physicality and experience nature, really. For the longest time, our species has been a part of nature, and it's really a short amount of time in our existence that we have created a man-made world and are separate from it. And so anything that we create that is bringing us back to physicality and materiality, much like the natural world, our brain enjoys it and loves it. And so we end up creating experiences like this. This is a current project we have going on at a university where these giant risers come to life magically. This is a digital panels. Matt could tell you technically how it's working, but it's just shining pixels through a really thin wooden veneer. And there are a lot of different things it can do. You'll see that in a moment. As people are sitting down, the content is morphing and is aware of where you're sitting so it can adjust. This particular mode, it's asking a question, getting you to engage, and this person, when they texted the answer, it appears on the riser. So again, so many different things you can do with something like this, with a platform. And to be honest, there's nothing new here that's happening. This is all stuff that is possible now, was possible years ago. But I think what's new is the way that you are experiencing it. And I don't know why we don't see more of these architectural canvases in our world. Why is digital physical or digital phygital, whatever, screens slapped in the environment? Why can't we have more experiences like this? Here's a quick just prototype video of that specific material that we spec'd in our lab in front of the high density pixels, and you see the content shining through. Here's just another example of something similar where we are creating a tapestry. Tapestries for centuries told stories and gave you a sense of what cultures were like. This particular tapestry is data-driven, is going to tell you stories as well, but it's made up of fiber optic fabric or threads and has an LED matrix behind it that will be a low-res display, essentially, that will do the communicating and convey the information. And so again, this could have very easily been just a giant screen slapped on that wall, but instead it's a tapestry.
And Pavani showed some of our most recent examples of combining materials and technology and almost masking technology with materials. But when we look to the future, I think we're going to see a lot more transformative materials. Like this here is Ferrofluid. You can apply magnetic forces to it to make it take different shapes, make textures, or swim around in some phosphorescent liquid, which is like glow stick fluid. Another really common transformative material that we have, and everyone knows this from their Kindle or e-reader that they've seen, is e-ink. And a lot of advancement has been going on kind of behind the scenes with e-ink, and we're about to see that in the market over the next year. E-ink is a great medium for digital content. It uses very little power, it's flexible, you can make different shapes, we have different colors. So think about that impacting architectural spaces. Instead of wiring up technology behind a wall and putting a material in front of it, the material is the medium in the case of e-ink and other transformative stuff. And in a very combinatorial way, the word I couldn't find earlier, this kind of technique of magnetism and that science is combining with electrophoresis, which is the moving of ink particles to turn them on and off to make a multicolor display. This is under development still. hopefully hitting the market soon. This is like a 32.5-inch, 16,000 colors, amazing display. Think about how this could impact digital signage all over the world when we no longer need things to glow, although we can light it up. Viewable in sunlight, doesn't need to be a rectangle, and uses a fraction of the energy of any display technology we have. The environmental impact alone is just incredible to think about. So hopefully this becomes like very pervasive. And we mentioned function as kind of a second method of our combination of digital and physical. These two things aren't really separate, they're pretty intertwined. So I want to show an example from my life. This is my kitchen. This is a piece in our home we love. The fireplace is on the other side, the brick wall backs up here, so we have a case of biophilia in my home. And the last thing I want to do is hang a screen up on this thing. And the next thing I don't want to do is hang a screen up and take it down every time I watch TV. I do all the cooking, so I spend a lot of time here, and I came up with a solution. I grabbed a projector so I can watch the Braves and whatever other movies and stuff I want to watch while I'm cooking. This has the same type of problems. I have a bunch of equipment I have to bring out and put away. The brightness isn't that great. The texture of the brick really kind of gets in the way of some of the text there. So this is not the future I want. I envision the future and want to make the future with transformative materials where I can have something that appears as organic as this brick and then transforms into that high brightness, high resolution LED, and just as quickly goes back to the beautiful setting that we want to be a calming point of our house. Thinking beyond myself for a moment to the other people in the world, and there's a lot of them. Today, it's about 7.3 billion, I think. And in 10 years, 2030, we're estimated to have 8.6 billion people on the earth. That's a lot of people, and that just means physical environments and built environments are going to have to start working harder than ever to be more things to more people, because we're frankly just running out of real estate. We have to make spaces smarter and make spaces transformative, not just materials. So like many things, this reminds me of a movie. For those of you who don't know, this is from Harry Potter, Order of the Phoenix. That's Neville Longbottom, and he is finding the Room of Requirement. Fun fact, his name is Matt Lewis, so if you Google me, you'll find him. So this room kind of like presents itself to people in need, and it transforms its inside to suit those needs, whatever they may want to do. In this case, practice, defense against the dark arts. And in the future, we're not going to have magical rooms in 10 years, probably. Maybe, but probably not. We're going to have rooms driven by technology that are able to physically transform not just particular surfaces, but the entire space.
So one of the reasons why I love working with Matt is because he's an optimist and is super fun and thinks about things like this, like Harry Potter. And this is the future that we together want to design. I'm going to temper the optimism for just a moment, though. Come back to the current state. So like I said, we are in this business, and so we have brands, clients, whether it's cultural institutions, big brands, corporations coming to us with, hey, we want to do physical digital stuff. And primarily it's still this, And I love the work that we have done for these clients and these particular form factors. We do great storytelling and content creation. But it does keep me up at night a little bit. 2 years ago, I became a mom. And for any of you who have children, I know that you probably have, everything's changed, right? Your outlook on life and how you do work even has changed. And so I have a singular focus, I feel like, in making sure that the world that Ishan, my son, is going to grow up in is a better world. And the thing that keeps me up at night is that I'm in this industry putting more digital stuff into the physical environment. And we know over the last several years, there are studies that show that more screen time or more digital stuff isn't necessarily always a good thing, right? And depression is just one example. There are a slew of other negative, potential negative impacts. So the stakes are high as we think about this moving into the physical environment. I mean, mobile devices and computers, these are things I can actually step away from. I can put away in my pocket and choose to not partake, although we often don't. Imagine that happening within the physical environment where you can't really escape, and let's say it's all around you, everywhere. I think the stakes are really high. We need to imagine a different future. Here's another video that's a concept video that to me is really scary, to some people might not be. So imagine that everything that you interacted with was somehow digitally enabled, right? Whether that's augmented reality or is actually physically in the environment. I don't know about you, but I don't want to live in that world, and I don't want my son to grow up in that world. And so, to me, this comes back to the title of our talk, the new collaborative. I think collaborative design and interdisciplinary design is nothing new to most of you in this room. We have, within the technology realm, benefited from having a multidisciplinary practice, whether that's pulling in creatives or filmmakers, just a whole slew of people. And within our studio, we've benefited from this as well as we do more physical work in the built environment. We've added in folks full-time, like architects, industrial designers. When you have a staff of folks that look something like this, sitting elbow to elbow full-time working together, the things you created are very different. But as we think about the next 10, the new collaborative that we're talking about is thinking about full-time roles that are typically in their own silos, collaborating with the people who are getting the big business from these brands and corporations, the people who are investing and snatching up all this real estate and putting screens up. So how would it be different if we had a naturalist or an anthropologist collaborating full-time with some of these other disciplines? I think we would end up with a world where we are motivated by very different things, not just efficiency, productivity, and communication, but emotion, wellness, connection, all the things they tell you in grad school, and all the things in academia and in labs that you really get excited about. But when you get into the real world, there are actually different motivations. And so we'll leave you with an example of one of my favorite projects. We didn't do this, but I wish we did. Here is a museum in Germany where the display is unreal. There's LEDs that are behind brick in the wall, and when they turn on and off, they cast a shadow. And the shadow, the physics of it, is what's creating this low-res display that's beautiful. It's silent, but loud at the same time. It actually is more likely to catch your attention than, I think, a glowing screen. And there is hope because we see more and more of this type of work happening across different realms. So I think we are at a crossroads right now where we can decide to be on autopilot and allow, 10 years from now we wake up and the internet's thrown up all over our physical environment, or 10 years from now we wake up and we are intentionally designing spaces like the ones I just ended with, and designing for wonder and awe and curiosity. Thank you.